I want you guys to keep watching this video if you want to scale your coaching business or any type of service-based business really past, absolutely unfathomable numbers, okay? So I'm going to be showing you guys essentially the Content2Cash system, right? So the Content2Cash system, it's all about building leverage, all about building predictability within obviously, your service-based business. So that obviously you can acquire clients on autopilot without having to really, do much manual labor yourself, and instead having everything, delegated to a team that does all, the converting for you, as well as most of the service delivery. Okay. And we obviously build leverage by obviously using content to obviously sell for you time and time again. You record a piece once, a content asset once, and it sells on behalf of you forever. Okay. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into the Content2Cash system. Okay. I'm not going to waste any time. So like I said, all about building leverage and predictability. Okay. So first we're going to be covering acquisition, right? And I've made both of these separate videos, but this is just a full guide, right? For anybody that's missed it. But obviously, like I said, we're going to cover acquisition first. So how do we go about, introducing ourselves to a cold prospect? Well, it's very simple. You start with either number one, a follow ad or a keyword ad, but preferably, if you're really going indirect, you go with a follow ad. Okay. And if you want to go more direct and you just want to, book call straight away, you go with obviously the more direct route, and you could go with the keyword ad. Okay. But in terms of indirectness, right, essentially what will happen is this follow ad is scripted in a certain way to obviously target, the correct people and get qualified prospects to obviously engage and follow, your page and keep up with you, okay? Now, when people follow you, obviously they'll keep seeing, your videos pop up. So they'll get nurtured by your content, and then eventually they'll go through your content portfolio. They'll go through your stories, and, if they constantly see call to actions and, stuff like that, then obviously they'll engage at some point. And that's the whole point of obviously, this follow ad, right? So like I said, from here, they'll go through your content portfolio. First, your short form content portfolio. And then from here, obviously within your content or all of it, basically you want to have a content or a conversion mechanism within your content. So, both written in the description and at the end of the video, okay, verbally. Right. So essentially what will happen is the call to action is to comment a keyword to learn more. Now you've probably seen this with, the biggest influencers within the spaces. And the reason that they do this is to give their appointment setters essentially an excuse to start a conversation with everybody that engages. Okay. So if they obviously engage with the conversion mechanism, then the setter will start a conversation with the prospect. And then from here, obviously, if you have an in-depth YouTube portfolio, which is what we help our clients build out as well, then obviously we'll leverage, the YouTube content to solve, the inefficiencies, the main inefficiencies that obviously your prospects in your space are dealing with, right? And then obviously, once we solve that problem, reciprocity will basically stir up. And if they're interested in a consultation, then they'll book a call, okay? And obviously, if not, and they don't even, engage with the conversion mechanism at all, then you just redirect them to, your YouTube, and then they'll also be nurtured over time by your stories, okay? And some more content. And then what you could do is, since on Meta and IG, obviously since they've already viewed your organic videos, they've went through your portfolio and stuff, you can retarget them with keyword ads, which are a conversion mechanism, like I said before, right? And obviously, like I said, the whole point of this keyword ad is obviously to get these people to comment a keyword so that, they engage, and a setter can start a conversation with them and they could book a call. Okay. So the same exact process before setter process, they'll start the conversation. They'll leverage, your content to obviously solve this inefficiency. That's why I always preach, minimum, 5 long form content pieces. Primarily, obviously, the 5 biggest problems within your space, and then maybe, VSL. That's actually, directly pitching your service, right? And then obviously, if they're interested in the consultation, they'll book a call. And if not, then, you redirect them again, this time to a group atmosphere, okay? Where essentially, they'll get asked qualifying questions, and they'll see, the banner to join the group, and they'll see that there's obviously something of value within there. Okay. You want to have a lead magnet to essentially get people to actually want to join. Okay. Then when they join, they get accepted, and they get tagged in a pinned post. Now a pinned post is obviously where they opt in for the lead magnet, and obviously in my Facebook video I go way more in depth on obviously all of that. So if you want to learn more about Facebook and how we actually build and monetize groups, then you can go ahead and check that video out. It should be within my content portfolio on YouTube, and also watch all my other videos. Okay, very valuable, right? Then obviously if the prospect engages with this pinned post about the lead magnet, then the setter will start a conversation and try and book a call. And even if they don't, then over time they'll get nurtured by your Instagram stories, group posts, Instagram reels, and your YouTube posts. Okay, your YouTube videos, right? Now in terms of the engagement posts, what type of posts should they be? They should be 2-step posts, Trojan horse questions, and value posts. Okay, and yeah, just stuff like that that are made to make people engage, right? Then when they engage, obviously setter starts a conversation, and then boom, there's no way you shouldn't be booking calls if you implement all of this correctly. Okay. Now essentially, obviously, what happens is, after the book call, they get taken through a sales process, and the sales process, obviously, you want to leverage content within this because you don't want to do anything yourself, right? So basically, you want to use your YouTube videos, your long form YouTube videos to provide value, and obviously give the prospect, more clarity in terms of your service and what you're actually going to be, selling them. And you want to essentially pre-sell them before they even hop on the call, okay? So that when they hop on the call, it'll either be, they'll either no-show because they can't afford it, or, they'll buy straight away, okay? And that saves time for all of us. Now what happens when they buy is they get taken through onboarding, okay? And obviously you need to have your onboarding funnel in place. Now we just talked about front-end marketing. Now we're obviously going to talk about service delivery. So this right here is the service delivery section, okay? So obviously your onboarding funnel needs to be in place. Now obviously that needs to consist of 3 different things. Number 1 is an onboarding video where you essentially explain, obviously, kind of like, everything that's going to be going on, and you got kind of like set expectations and kind of like step your feet into the ground of the prospect essentially, right? And just set expectations, and kind of mitigate refunds, right? Then from here, obviously you got to take them to a payment page, or obviously you can put the payment page first, but this is just usually what I like to do, just to kind of sell them a little more, right? And then once they pay, you take them to a thank you page where they can then obviously book their onboarding call, okay? Then step number 2 of service delivery is the ramp up, okay? Now, assuming that this is obviously for, coaches, okay? So if you're a coach and you're watching this, especially B2C, please pay attention, okay? So the ramp up is essentially all about, it's in the name, ramping, these prospects up, right? Because obviously the leverage coaching model is obviously you're selling information, selling a community, access to you, and group coaching, as well as one-on-one coaching as well, okay? Hence why, we make people pay so much for this, because there's so much value implemented within, this Content2Cash coaching model essentially, right? So from here, obviously from the onboarding call, what'll happen is they'll get redirected to, course material. And I really recommend you use School, because School, you can actually track, what % of the videos the prospects or, your clients actually watch, okay? And this is kind of a way to keep them accountable, and, the more accountability, then the more likely they are to, get results. And the more results that you get, the more case studies that you get. And the more case studies that you get, then the more things that you can use and leverage within your front end marketing to make more content and gain trust from more people and sign more people. And then it's just obviously a cycle that just never sleeps, okay? So obviously you want a CSM on your team to obviously track the percentage of, the videos watched of the client that they're assigned, okay? And if the client is not watching the course material, then you want to stress the importance of consuming, the course material. And that's basically, breaking limiting beliefs and over delivering on value, okay? Now, if they are watching the course material, then that's great. Then, they're one step closer to becoming a case study, because you're ramping them up, right? And you won't have to re-explain basic stuff to them 6 million times, okay? So what'll happen is from here, you need to introduce them to the community aspect, right? So you want to force the client to essentially introduce themselves to build new relationships with more experienced members, so that obviously, networking with these people and meeting these people will also keep them accountable. Now, the whole point of obviously doing all this and keeping people accountable is, once more people know about your mission, humans will do more to essentially not embarrass themselves than they will for themselves, if that kind of makes sense, right? This is kind of a concept that Sam Ovens kind of explained, within obviously his consulting accelerator, right? So obviously, the more people that you tell your mission to, then the least likely or the less likely you are to, quit or fail, because all these people know about your mission and you don't want to look like an idiot failing and, quitting. Okay. So that's why we obviously introduce them to, build relationships with more experienced members and just network with, members of, the program overall. And then in terms of one-on-one accountability, obviously they need to be scheduled on 1 or 2 one-on-one calls a week with a client success manager. Notice how I said client success manager and not you directly, because if you take these calls directly, then what will happen is, you'll be working in the business instead of on it, and you want to be working on the business instead of in it. Okay. Now, what do I mean by that? Obviously, you want to be doing stuff on the marketing side. So you want to be creating content, and you want to be taking your group calls, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what you should be doing. Okay. And speaking of group calls, here we are. We're at group calls, right? So these group calls should be more of, a Q&A, right? And obviously, you need to break limiting beliefs and over-deliver on value within these group calls and just within, everything in general. So, the course material, kind of everything that you do, okay? And any type of value that you provide. Then in terms of implementation, so if you do all of this correctly, if you onboard them properly, if you keep them accountable by making them obviously ramp themselves up by watching and consuming the course material, that'll ramp them up to kind of your level in terms of understanding, and you introduce, the clients to people that will keep them accountable, and also assign them to a CSM that will also keep them accountable and keep them from quitting and keep them motivated. And they force them to join the one-on-one calls and, the group calls and, ask questions, then you'll make it absolutely unreasonable for your client not to get or become a case study. Okay. Because what will happen is the client will take action in accordance with their new information and or beliefs. And then once they take action and, they have all the knowledge, they ask the questions where they get stuck at and they get a really good answer. And they have, constant motivation and accountability from those around them, they'll turn into a case study. And then when they turn into a case study, you leverage that in your front end marketing. Okay. And then you create a content piece around this new case study. And then when you create a new content piece around this new case study, that'll obviously incline and add more social proof to your funnel, which will then convert even more people. Okay. That is the whole point of this system. It's very predictable and very leveraged in the way that we do things. Okay. And then obviously from here, if you're kind of selling an offer where you're making them money, kind of, I don't know, like, say something like a sales program, for example, then you can even upsell them. Okay. You can upsell them. Since you've made them money already, you can upsell them to a back-end mastermind. And in terms of promoting this, you kind of want to use FOMO. Okay. Now this could be, as fancy as, kind of like client trips, or it could really be anything, right? Like one-on-one calls, just you and them. It could really be, anything, 7-hour access to you, really anything. Okay. To kind of induce this fear of missing out, which in turn will make you even more money. Okay. And obviously you want this to be on a yearly retainer. Okay. So without further ado, that's basically the Content2Cash system in its entirety. It took me about 15 minutes to kind of explain it, but let's just go through it again. Obviously, we have a cold prospect, then we introduce ourselves to this cold prospect with a follow ad, and then from there, obviously, if they're qualified, then they'll get nurtured and they'll go through our content. And within our content, there's a call to action in every video for those that are actually serious and want to, implement stuff and take them to the next level. Then they'll engage with the call to action. The setter will start a conversation. Then if they're interested, they'll either book a call. And if they're not, then they'll just, end up consuming even more of your content. or they'll get retargeted, or eventually, they'll start another conversation with you. And obviously, if they're interested, they'll book. And if they don't, they just get redirected to your group where you're getting nurtured every single day. They're checking it every single day. They're getting hit by engagement posts every single day. And if they engage, then boom, that's even more, even more meetings, right? And then once these people become clients, then obviously they get taken through an onboarding funnel, okay? They get ramped up. Then they get introduced to the community aspect. And then they get introduced to obviously accountability, so that obviously they can stay constantly motivated and connect with new people, which in turn will make them less likely to quit. And they start showing up to the group calls, and then from here, once they have the knowledge, they have new connections, and they're being kept accountable by not just a CSM, but obviously by you and all the people that they know and love. Then they'll show up to the calls. They'll ask questions about what's kind of confusing them, and there's only so many questions that there's so many problems that they can kind of deal with. So once all those are answered, the client will start taking action with this new feedback and this new information / beliefs that they've acquired over time by obviously asking the questions, going through the course material, and doing all this stuff. Then from here, once they take action, they'll become a case study that you can then leverage in your front end marketing. And then obviously, if you're making them money, like I said, you can upsell them to a back end mastermind where you're going to use fear of missing out to kind of sell them into a yearly retainer. Okay. So thank you guys for watching this. That's the Content2Cash system. By the way, if you want to obviously implement this within, your service-based business, whether it be your agency, your coaching, consulting business, please don't hesitate to DM me on Instagram at SDC2C. I'll drop it in the description. But thank you guys for watching. Please implement what I just showed you, because I guarantee you it'll make you a fuck ton of money. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.